At midnight, the sound of pounding fufu echoed through the quiet village. Thud, thud, thud. With each strike of her heavy mortar, neighbors swore they heard muffled screams. No one dared peek through their windows. The widow's compound was cursed, they said. By morning, the village woke to a strange silence, and one neighbor was gone, leaving only a trail of wet footprints leading toward her door. The village of Adumasa was small. Everyone knew everyone. But no one truly knew Mame Ajua, the widow who lived in the last mud house before the forest. Her husband had died in a strange way, his body found in the river, bones broken as if crushed by something heavy. Since then, she kept to herself and only came to the market once a week. Children whispered that her mortar was not for pounding fufu, but for pounding something else, something alive. One night, Kwame, a young man living next door, lay in bed. Then he heard it. Thud, thud, thud. The sound was slow, heavy, and each time the pestle hit the mortar, he thought he heard a cry. A short, sharp scream, like someone in pain. The sound grew louder. He could almost feel it shaking his chest. He crept to his window, but the moon was gone behind thick clouds. All he could see was the faint glow of a lamp from the widow's hut. Then, he saw her shadow. Mame Ajua stood tall, arms raised, bringing the pestle down hard. The scream that followed made Kwame stumble back. He told himself it was just his imagination, until the air grew cold. Then came the knock. 3 slow knocks on his door. Kwame froze. "Who is it?" he whispered. No answer. Only the sound of something dragging along the ground outside, like a sack of yams. The dragging stopped at his door. Then, silence. When he dared to peek out the window again, the widow's lamp was gone. But the pounding had started again. This time, the screams were louder. Kwame could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the pounding came again. Thud, thud, thud. The screams were clearer now, high, painful, and human. He decided he had to see what was going on. He slipped outside, careful not to make a sound. The village was dark except for the faint flicker from Mame Ajua's hut. The closer he got, the colder the air became. It felt like stepping into a grave. He crept to her window and peered in. Mame Ajua stood over her mortar, her head bent low, lips moving as if in prayer. The pestle in her hands rose high, then slammed down with terrible force. Kwame's eyes widened. The mortar wasn't filled with yam or cassava. It was filled with flesh. A pale arm, human, stuck out of the mortar. Each time she pounded, the body inside twitched and let out a muffled cry. Blood splashed against the clay walls, but the widow kept working, humming a low, strange tune. Kwame clamped his hand over his mouth to keep from screaming. He wanted to run, but his feet wouldn't move. Then her head snapped up. "I know you're watching, Kwame," she whispered. The pestle dropped from her hands. It didn't hit the ground, it vanished into the mortar like the mortar was a deep pit. The body inside was gone. Only thick, dark liquid swirled in the bottom, steaming in the cold air. Kwame stumbled back, but before he could turn, she was at the window, her face inches from his. "You hear them screaming, don't you?" she said, her voice low and shaking. "They scream until they are part of me." Her hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. Her touch burned like fire. Kwame screamed and yanked free, running as fast as he could to his hut. He quickly locked the door. The pounding outside began again. But this time it wasn't in her mortar. It was on his door. Thud, thud, thud. Kwame backed away from the door, every hair on his body standing on end. Thud, thud, thud. The knocks grew heavier, shaking the wooden frame. Then came her voice, calm, almost sweet. "Open the door, Kwame. You are needed." He shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "Leave me alone." The knocking stopped. Kwame dared to hope she was gone, until he heard the dragging sound again. Slow, heavy, moving around the side of his hut. Then, his window went dark. Something blocked the moonlight. Before he could move, the window shattered. A long, pale arm reached in, grabbing his ankle. She pulled and Kwame fell hard, hitting his head on the floor. When his vision cleared, he was outside. The ground was cold and wet under his back. The widow stood over him, holding her pestle. "Every soul feeds the next," she said, lifting the pestle high. "Tonight, you join them." Kwame rolled to the side just as the pestle slammed down, cracking the earth. He scrambled to his feet and ran, but the ground turned soft, like wet clay, sucking at his legs. Hands, cold, rotting, reached up from the soil, gripping his ankles. He fell forward and the widow was there, smiling. With one last swing, she brought the pestle down, and everything went black. The next morning, the villagers found his hut empty. Only a trail of wet footprints led to Mame Ajua's compound. That night, when the pounding began again, some swore they heard a man's voice, screaming with each strike. Others claimed they heard laughter, but no one went to check. No one ever does.
Thanks for watching. If you're new here, or if you have been watching without subscribing, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up and drop all your comments below. Stay glued because we have so much more coming your way. I will see you guys in our next one. For now, bye.